Well, on the line now, a retail and consumer expert, Kate Hardcastle. Morning, Kate.
Good morning.
And Phil Pinder, who chairs the York Retail Forum. Morning, Phil.
Good morning, Georgie.
So, Kate, if I start with you, how much of a surprise is it that John Lewis is closing its York store?
Well, if you've been tracking...
Sorry, Kate.
Thank you. If you've been tracking the progress of organisations like John Lewis and Marks and Spencer's, you know that they've been going through some pretty challenging times, and therefore they've got quite radical plans of evolvement. We know that Marks and Spencer have said they're never going to be the same again, which sounds an incredibly bold statement to make. And John Lewis last year, under their chair, Dame Sharon White, said that this was a time they were going to look to alternate industries, including the financial sector, and expanding there using the very trusted John Lewis brand, even residential property letting. This is an organisation that's done some deep evaluation even prior to COVID hitting the shores of what they need to do to survive. So I think if you're on that journey with them, you understand that they're going to have to look at their estate and understand where they can make cuts, where they can make savings to be able to go forward. Unfortunately, that's going to mean a lot of the stores. Stores are very big, take a lot of cost to run them. And even though, yes, some of the way in which we shop in the last year has been exaggerated because of the on-off lockdowns, they're looking at the bigger picture. They're looking at trends that are coming through. And what we've seen is that people have received the idea of online shopping, particularly over 55s, have moved to online shopping in a much bigger way. And when they're asked, they're not going to return fully to our high street. So our high streets need to hang their hat on more than retail. It's got to be bigger than retail. We need social places and communities to be. John Lewis can't be responsible for the creation of any high street, neither can any retail brand. These are organisations that are saying that we need to get on with what we need to deliver, we need to survive, and this is how we're doing it. It's incredibly sad, Georgie, of course, but this is a brand that's trying to survive.
And Phil, sorry to cut you off there. Your thoughts on
That's
John
right.
Lewis closing? You know,
We
inevitable that we would go online.
We have to look back to when the whole development was looking to be built at Vanguard, and we said as a retail forum that was it a development too far for York? The council's own impact study said that this would put 1,000 jobs at risk in the city centre and potential shop closures as well. And now here we are with the Vanguard Centre itself now looking. Losing one of its anchor tenants. Is the whole development of that site now a development too far for the city?
And how much of a blow is it for York?
I think in terms of a retail offering, it obviously looks sad that from an outside perspective that we're losing a big player like John Lewis. But I think you do have to, weigh up that John Lewis was so desperate to come to York, they basically took any option they were given. We knew for years before that they were looking to come into the city centre, but there weren't ever opportunities around. Had they waited a bit longer, they maybe could have taken the Debenhams building or something like that. But yeah, they probably expanded too quickly and were quick just to grab any old space just to have a presence in a city. And I don't think the plan of expansion for them was ever thought out properly.
I mean, you could say that actually now is the time not to close because with lockdown restrictions easing, then maybe people will go back into shops, Kate. People are desperate to sort of socialise and be around other people. So, going to John Lewis, they've got a cafe there. They've got a couple of cafes there.
There's a powerful need for us to have places to be, communities. We need human high streets, human retail parks where there's a mix of social activities as well as retail, and that we feel that we can go there safely and enjoy our time there. I was out across retail parks across the UK and shopping centres last year when we saw the reopenings, and footfall did return, but not to the same levels, Georgie. And also when I was speaking and interviewing shoppers, they were telling me that actually they're quite keen to get in and out. They felt they were being responsible in the main. They didn't want to be using what we call in retail the dwell time, the time that you would just spend pottering around, maybe going for that extra coffee. They wanted to be very purposeful in terms of their shopping, to get in and out and allow other customers the space to be able to feel safe. And I understand that's going to be the case for some time. So I'm not naysaying or at all saying we don't need shops, of course, but over the progression, we're going to see quality rather than a huge quantity. That's going to be better for us in the long run. I think what we're seeing here is this perfect storm of what COVID has done to retail and this move online, in addition to organisations that were probably in quite a challenged state before, as I said, it even hit the shore and are having to reevaluate at speed.
And Phil, you're quoted in the press today saying it is a ludicrous decision to make this decision before we've all come out of lockdown. It does beg the question, if this does go ahead, what is going to happen to that building? Because it is a big space.
Yeah, it's a very big space. I think 83,000 square foot. I think it's too big for many of the people that would take such spaces. And does the landlord want somebody like B&M going in there? Who knows what's going to happen to it? As I said, it's a strange decision to make now because the whole site is only just up and running. The community stadium is not actually even opened yet, which obviously would provide a flurry of shoppers for them when there's matches been played and things like that. But yeah, very, very strange to make the decision now without even reopening post-COVID. Perhaps it's been in the offing for a long time.
We worry about the high street, and yet again we hear news that the little Betty's Cafe is going to be closing on Stonegate. What do you make of that, and how much of a blow is that for Betty's to make that decision?
Yeah, well, personally, I mean, it was the place I went on a first date with my wife. So, very sad to see it going. And, a great little York treasure that we all know about is the place to go if you want to go to Betty's, but you don't want to go in the queue. But I understand it from an operational point of view. Betty's are a key part of the retail forum, and I know they've struggled for a long time with a tiny little kitchen they've got in there. So I think it's more operational. They did look to expand a couple of years ago on the little Betty's site and make it a little bit bigger, because they own a building next door as well. But I think they had struggles with the lovely people at the York Planning Department about being able to do that. So I think sadly that it's just been a matter of reviewing the options during lockdown and realising it's not something they can move forward with long term when there are other growing assets of the business they need to invest in.
You talk about moving forward. In terms of a change of decision on John Lewis's store, there is this petition. Do you think John Lewis may reconsider the decision to close?
I think John Lewis are blind to their customers at the moment. John Lewis are all about customer service and have been for many years, and being a customer-facing store, and they're seeing this dash to online as the thing to do, and they're trying to compete with the likes of Amazon when, Amazon are not, it's going to be all about price, and, competing on price is not the be-all and end-all in retail. Customers want good service and they want good recommendations. And sadly, John Lewis lost that a few years ago when they started competing with the likes of Amazon and trying to do great online things. And I disagree slightly with Kate saying that the future's all about online. It's not all about online. It's going to be about a mixed experience. And, the high street very much has a part to play. And York's high street is going to be here for many, many years to come.
Well, you say York High Street's going to be there, but Coney Street's looking pretty bleak, and it has done even pre-pandemic.
But again, I mean, we've got developers that are moving in to redevelop the whole street. I've seen some of the future plans for Coney Street, which include opening up the river again, having a riverside walkway. And, if that long-term vision gets realised, I think we'll see a very big flurry for opening up stores on Coney Street. We've already got some big interest, some big names. There's also some smaller retailers looking to open in the city. It's just about getting the deals done. Sadly, it takes 5 to 6 months to get a shop open from that initial offering. And I've got a list of over 100 players who want to come to York. It's just a matter of now chasing all those up and getting them to open their stores.
Gosh, well, I mean, that sounds like a bit of good news at this dark tunnel. Phil, many thanks this morning. Phil Pinder, he chairs the York Retail Forum, and my thanks to Kate Hardcastle as well, retail and consumer expert.